So unified golden records house all the critical information about the asset within the token itself. By putting all of the data about the asset within the token itself, you are turning the token not only into a method of ownership transfer, but also a method of transferring critical data. Because most market issues are about lack of information. Bernie Madoff is about lack of information. FTX is about lack of information. SVB is about lack of information. If you can get the relevant information on chain, you can eliminate Bernie Madoff, FTX, SVB, and many other similar situations. So the third dimension of making a reliable asset is that the asset doesn't just give you access to ownership, it gives you access to the critical data about the asset, so that if you own something from SVB, you know what the yield of their treasury is, not just that they have a treasury. Or if you have some relationship with FTX, their balance sheet is validated in real time, and there's no opportunity for it to be released in a surprise to the market. So this is where you're putting critical data on chain. This dynamic of creating a unified golden record, I think, is the critical next stage of how to manage risk and how to reduce the overall risk of assets in any financial system. And we're working here with folks in DC very actively to get a better and better set of standards for how assets in the US financial system can be created to prove critical things and therefore be a superior asset compared to others. By the way, this isn't just a concept that we have. This is from a recent presentation at the end of last year from the Treasury, where they describe what they call a core layer and a services layer to every token. And they describe them as having different information. So we are now in a world where if we want our industry to graduate from cryptocurrencies that are not connected to any real-world asset into a world where all the real world's underlying value is turned into a token that is reliable. And if we want that token that represents all that underlying value to be generated in the US financial system, and for the US to be the leading place that generates those tokens and the leading place that experiences the most demand for those tokens, then I think we're going to have to build all of these tokens in a significantly different way to both solve the problem of ownership and solve the problem of data transfer. Because both of these problems are fundamentally critical. Now, for this digital asset compliant real-world asset world. One of the things in the service layer of a token is compliance. Fundamentally, that's what we need to all collaborate with governments on. We need to figure out what is the efficient, low-cost, superior way to comply with the government's and society's various legal requirements while making it much, much cheaper than the traditional system. In the ideal world, where we are in a few years, is that you could buy a tokenized equity, or you could buy a traditional financial equity. The tokenized equity has much better liquidity, much more global access to capital. It is giving you critical information in ways that you don't need to buy costly and complicated data subscriptions. And it is able to be acquired by you and held by you and resold by you at a low cost of compliance. Fundamentally, what we all want to do, in my opinion, if we want our industry to succeed, is to make the DeFi and the tokenized asset fundamentally better than the traditional asset. And so I think we can do that, but we absolutely have to collaborate with governments and the legal system to do that. And I think we're in a very unique moment in time where that's finally possible. So I think we should make the most of it, and the time is now, and we can really make it happen. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you very much. I hope you have a good conversation.